Hello, welcome back to my art room. This is Dawn and I'm currently working on the Botanical Beauties project that's being organised by Corinne from To Be Loved Treasures by Corinne and from Susanna from Vintage Blend Studios. And every month we do another flower, and this month is Crocus. And I decided that I wanted to do a bit of mixed media, but mostly stitch. So I've got myself a bit of an idea. With this video, there'll be 2 extra links, one of which I decided to crochet petals to make a crocus and thought I could give it a 3D element. A bit of a disclaimer, I did dye the thread with some Inktense pencils and I might have been a bit too impatient and didn't let it dry properly and ended up with very purple fingers while I was crocheting. But the thread that I used is a Wonderful Pearl Cotton number 8. In the video that I will have attached, you'll see me actually doing these ones, which I thought I was going to use, but there wasn't enough thread to make the 6 petals that a crocus has. And I didn't think, when I did a bit of research, I didn't think that it was the right colour. So you will see me talking about using these, but I've changed my mind, I'm not going to. And it was while I was doing that I decided that I would dye sufficient cotton. So while I didn't know what this one was, I suspect it's the same as this because it pretty much looks like the same weight of thread, if you can see that. And the other little video that I've done is that I decided to paint some fabric. That's just my little drawing of what I'm going to actually do, because I want to do a little bit of painting as well, and then I'll finish there and come back in a part 2 and put it all together with stitch, because it's definitely a project for stitching, but I decided to add a few more bits and pieces. So you'll see in the oh, excuse me. You'll see in the painting little snippet video that's with here is that I did 3 pieces of fabric, and this one is the piece of fabric that's calico that had been well washed and stored and ironed. It took the paint easier. It's dyed paler. I don't know which side I like better, probably both, but anyway, this was a piece of calico that hadn't been washed, so it's quite a bit stiffer. It's still got the sizing in it, but I just thought that I would give it an experiment to see how it went. And it's okay. You know, it didn't probably soak through as much as this one did, but it's still perfectly usable in my little craft projects. And this was a piece of linen that again hadn't been washed, and I did struggle to get the paint to move around, but now that it's done, this is my favourite piece. So I'm going to use that. This is the size page in my Botanical Beauties book that I will be using, and that was lucky that I checked because I had it upside down. That would have been a disaster. I'm not sure how much of this green background I'm going to keep because I still quite like this background, but I know that I will come back and work on that in the second video. So for now, what I'm going to do is just sketch out my crocus flower on my piece of linen that I've decided to use and paint it. So my intention is to have the leaves painted, which you possibly can't see, but you will see once I sketch it out. I'll have 2 crocuses painted on here and stitched, and then I'll have a 3D one. Oh, goodness, it's caught on everything here. It has a wire. I ran out of thread, but anyway, we'll sew that one down. It has a wire in it so that you can sculpt the petals that look quite pretty, and it'll need to be bound with some green thread so that it looks right, and it will be the 3D bit that will stick out over the edge. So yeah, so that's my intention. I'm going to just make this bit not too long, hopefully. I always never notice the time goes so fast, because the two other bits with the crocheting and the fabric painting, there's probably a half an hour of that attached here. So what I'm going to do is I had a bit of a sketch from a photo of some crocuses growing, just from some garden photos. So it's just something that I researched and got some inspiration from, understood the shape a little bit. It won't be a botanical representation by any stretch of imagination, but I think we'll still be able to get the gist of it. So no, I don't have one to trace. I don't have a picture to trace because I just don't have a picture to trace. So I'm going to use my erasable pen so that if I hate it, I can iron it off. But I just wanted the leaves to sort of like be a bit in the background. And I wanted that green background just to sort of give me the idea that they were maybe growing in a field. Amazing how many photos that I found of them growing through snow. We don't have snow like that. Ours would be growing through the garden mulch, but they're not going to be growing through snow. So I decided not to do snow. So there is a flower here that I forgot about, but I can iron those lines out. The petals do overlap each other, so that was something that I really had to be thinking about when I was doing it. One of the interesting other things that I read when I was researching it is the little bit of orange is where they get what's it called, the threads that you use, saffron threads in. I can see how come they're so expensive. Oh my gosh, you only get 3 per flower. And when you're buying it by the kilo, whew, that's very expensive. But I never buy it by the kilo. I buy, 6 strands at a time. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This petal can come in here. 6. So while we don't necessarily always see photos of crocuses like this, and I don't know whether every type of crocus grows saffron threads. It's just something I read. I thought, oh, wow, that was interesting. So my 3D one is going to sort of sit here somewhere. And so I need to make sure that I've probably will paint what would be the stem of the flower, even though I'll be adding it with the wire wrapped in a green thread, just as a placement. Background's probably a good idea. I'm going to cover up all that, but never mind. That doesn't matter. You never know when you're doing something a bit. And this is a petal that's, tipped over to me. And I'm just doing it fairly light sketching because it possibly won't look completely like this when I'm done. And I don't know if I will. 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, there's one in the front there. That was 5. That's wrong. I don't know if I'll outline it to give it a painterly look. I never know those things till I'm kind of, done really. But anyway, I think that probably looks all right. I'm going to paint it before I clean it up because I think I can pretty much see where I want to go, and I don't want to you know, lose any lines. I'm thinking maybe another, I've got another leaf coming out here, and maybe one that might end up off the page. I'm going to wait because that's going to be whatever part of this background, and I can always add that in thread if I decide to add it. I just, you know, have to decide on its placement and whether it's going to work with the design. It looks like it's going, it would be good if it was there. But until I've actually attached this to that backing fabric, I can't do that. All right, I think I'm ready to go. And I quite liked, I'm going to put that green one away because, as I explained, oh, do I need a bit of brown? Oh, maybe I do, which is probably why I had it out in the first place. This greeny colour here was too blue. I wasn't fussed on it. Yes, I need the purpley colour and probably a bit of yellow. I don't know. We'll just see how we go. I'm I'm gingerly trying to keep within the confines of my bit of plastic here. I was taking a photo of the workspace because I thought it might make an interesting thumbnail. You might see it, you might not. I don't know. But anyway, we'll just wait and see what happens. All right, I've got some water ready to go. I've sprayed. You will see when I'm doing the video on the painting that I talk about these Koh-i-Noor, Koh-i-Noor, N-O-O-R. Hopefully you can see that okay. I got it in Australia. I found it in Officeworks, possibly where you are if you Google it, which is what I did, because I'd seen it used by someone else on fabric. I wanted to have a go, and they're quite inexpensive. You can buy the full set of colours, or you can just buy them in a colour range. But I like them because you get lots of colours. And while they're not the cheapest from the cheap shop, I think they're much the same thing, really, to be quite honest. So I think whatever you've got will work. It's really where I'm going with all of that nonsense. All right, I did have another bit of paper towel somewhere. Yes, right here. Good. Just so I can not have too wet a brush, because what I'm actually going to do with this one is paint with a little bit more detail. So the last one I painted was very watery, as a watery background. And for this one, I don't want it to run. Now, if it runs, it's not going to matter because I've got that bit of green background and I can define some of the edges. But my preference is for that not to happen. Can you see what I'm doing? Just to be doubly sure. Yeah, so I've got a round brush. I'm very bad at leaving my brushes in the water jug, and then it does that to the poor old brush handle. So I don't know what size it is, but it's round. And sometimes I pick up a brush out of the jar of brushes just because I like the look of it, the shape of it, the size of it, with no rhyme nor reason, really. And so I'm bad at then having to tell you what I've used, but it's possibly like a 4, like this one here. Oh, it could be a 6. This one here is a 12 round. That's what I use to do the backgrounds with. They're wet because it's been sitting in the jug of water. I need to get better at that, but I don't think too old to be retrained now. Every now and then I'm good, but so possibly a 6. Might it kind of looks about half that size. I'll leave that out now that I've talked about it. So yeah, possibly a 6. It might be a little bit smaller, but I find it's easy to use. With the round brushes, they particularly useful for watercolour because it holds in the base here in the reservoir, it holds extra fluid, so it keeps it, it keeps it working. But you might want to use a flat one. I guess it's your choice if you're interested in doing fabric painting. I've become a little bit obsessed about it, so I'm finding that I'm wanting to use it in many situations. Now, this was a leaf that went off the page, so I think that I'm going to leave that one for now and paint it in when I get there, and I can make a decision about if it needs to be there. I think it does, just as a design element, but see, that's a bit of stuff off the paintbrush handle. I'll wait, because if I'm going to paint it in, I'm going to want one movement. I'm not going to want a bit here and then another bit here. I don't think that makes for a nice look. Excuse me, gosh. It's the morning here and I haven't had a major conversation. Although certainly my husband and I greet each other, that's for sure. But he's gone out and I've been here thinking about doing this. And so I thought, before I've done some housework and I need to go and do a bit of shopping. I'm chopping and changing which side I want the light and dark on. Sorry, but I've decided now what the dark on the left hand side, so I'm going to have to go back over that one, but that's all right, we can fix that up. You can just make this side a bit darker, and then I'm going to make that darker in there, because then that's the one that's mostly facing us, and this one as well. It'll be in the shadow of that flower. And this one here, probably darker on these ends, because it's coming away. It's probably lighter on the flat and right in there where it gets in. My trouble is that I haven't got that, haven't got a colour reference, so I'm making it up as I'm going along. Hopefully I'm sounding like I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I do. All right, I think I want a bit of this browny colour as, yep. What I do if the colour doesn't want to really activate properly, because sometimes these watercolour palettes, they don't behave like artist quality watercolours, they go hard, and so then takes a little bit of time to get it going. It's quite dark, isn't it? Is that the colour I want? We'll soon find out. I just wanted a little bit of brown in there just to darken it up a little bit. Just on that side there. Somebody tooting their horn outside. Oh gosh, we've had like 2 unbelievable sunny days. Did you notice I've got no jumper on? I've got bare arms. No heater roaring in the background. Gosh, that makes a blooming difference. I'm very happy about when it does that. Do I want that there? This is the one that's the 3D one. All right, a little bit in here at the base because it's hiding in shadow, and then a little bit more down here because I think it's bending over, and then leave that middle bit as the lightest bit. That's my take on it. Suppose I could have, yeah, I think I could probably have a few extra bits and lines in there. Yeah. There might be some grass or something in behind it. Yeah, that's all right. That looks all right. It will dry very faint. In fact, I don't even know whether you could. Oh yeah, I think you can see it. And then I thought I'd just lighten up the middle a little bit with a lighter colour. A bit more yellowy. In hindsight, the yellow probably should have gone on first, but I do actually want it sitting on top. I'm not totally sure whether that's even going to be seen. You know, I did want it on top of the green, but usually you go from light to dark. That makes the most sense. Which one did I use? This one? Could remember. Yes, so I've got to go and do some shopping in a minute. Go and do a visit to my mum and my stepdad, call in after I've done the shopping, and then I'll be home. And by then Paul should be home too. So he goes off. Don't know if you have in your area what's called a men's shed. And it's an organisation that's, I think, government funded for blokes to sort of spend some time with each other doing bloke things. You know, I do all of this. But what they do is they make things for not charity, but they can do, but they will do things, make things in their workshops. They have the local area has craft market once a month, so they make things to sell there. So they have wooden plant boxes and bits and pieces. Metal, Paul likes to get in the metal workshop, and he likes the chat with the blokes, so that's good. So he does that a few mornings a week, and goes off there early. I think it's almost like a job, but he likes the social interaction of it with a bloke. I talk to you guys all day. Well, not all day. I talk to you sometimes. Don't talk all day. I talk in my head sometimes all day, but yeah. So I quite liked the crocuses that weren't all one colour. They were, patchy sort of purpley colours. And I think this is going to need, rather than the solid colour, I just thought that would look probably good here in this situation. And as I said, I haven't got a colour reference here in front of me anymore because it was from a garden book, garden picture from a garden, a gardening photo. Gosh, that's what I was trying to say then. I reckon there's too much water there and it's probably going to bleed. But as you can see, I'm trying to keep it not so wet so that I don't get too much bleeding. Because I'm wanting it. I want it to look like a painting. I don't want it to look like a real flower. Oh, that's got a lot of water on it. Yeah, that's my aim of the game. Good. All right, well, you've probably seen me do enough of this. I'm going to add those other photos on here. Photos. I'm going to attach the other videos so that I can upload this as part 1. And then part 2 will be when I've actually finished the painting and I'm ready to do some stitching on it. So I hope you're having a lovely day, that you're doing something fun for you too, like I'm doing, and that you stay well, and I'll see you again soon. Okay, bye. I'm just going to have an experiment with some fabric because I want a painted background for this page. I wasn't sure exactly how the fabrics would behave, so I thought I would come on screen and have a play with you. The paints that I'm using, if you need to take a screenshot, Ko-I-Nor. They're just a watercolour. They're not anything special except that I've tried them on fabric. I've got them from our local Officeworks and they come in these rounds. The thing that I like about them is there's lots of shades of the one colour. So I just thought I'd have a go with them. So what I've done first is wet the fabric. It's damp. I might just give it a little bit more. It's only just damp and that's all, because I didn't want it soaking wet. So this fabric here is pre-washed calico. This is unwashed calico, so it's new. And this is a piece of linen, not washed, it was new. So I'm just going to have a try, because I want it to look like a watercolor background. Yeah, that's kind of my aim for this bit of the project, for this page. And I'm hoping that it will behave like watercolor does on watercolor paper, where, you know, it'll bleed out, because I didn't want it to be, you know, full on colour. But maybe a bit more water, I don't know, it'll make it bleed out. I've just got some plastic and some paper towel just to protect my surface more than anything else. I think what you can see what I'm doing. I spray the palettes first just to get the paint colours activated, get them started. I've got a feeling, yeah, no, that's too blue, so I don't want that colour. I'm going to stick with these ones. Might give them a bit of a mix together. But I just want it to look like a faded background before I put the crocus on there. And I thought I'll just have a play with you. That was a bit more yellow than I was expecting. Let's try that one. I'm not trying to make a picture. I'm simply creating a background. but because I'm doing purple crocuses, I thought I would add some extra purple bits in here, just because this should dry paler than what it's presenting right now. But I would like it to fade out around the edges a bit more. All right, I'm just going to use water to do that. All right, so that was a pre-washed calico. I've got purple fingers because I've just finished dyeing some threads for what I'm doing. So I might as well just stick with the same. So this was the not unwashed calico. This was pre-washed, used and pre-washed and ironed, and so the water sort of sits on the top a bit. I'm not discounting it because I just wanted to see what it would be like, but I think it's better when it's washed, simply because you know, the colour merges. See, this is kind of sitting on the top. It's going through, goes through eventually, but I guess until it dries we won't know. I don't think I wanted that colour, did I? No, it was a bit bluey. It's these two colours that I want. Yeah, that's kind of looking like what I had in my head that I was going to do. Yeah, I think I'm going to give up on this. I don't think it's going to be what I really wanted. You never know. But yeah, I wanted a watercolour painterly effect. That's what I was looking for. Let's spray it again and see if that'll move it. I've just got, you know, my jug of water here beside me, in case you're wondering what I was doing. I'm dipping in the side there. It's funny, this is the one that hasn't been washed, and it's doing this funny curl. Obviously got something to do with the, you know, the starch in the starch in the fabric. All right, this is the linen. This, of course, would be the piece that I would like to use, but neither did I wash it, so it could be that I might be disappointed. And I'll see. That was just a bit of stuff off the paintbrush, in case you're wondering where that bit of blue stuff came from. It's not moving. See, I've got that line where this actually moved and so did this. This is kind of staying in a blob. So there we go. Glad I had a bit of a play with that. I don't think I'm going to get the look I'm looking for at all. But until it dries, I won't know. So, but it's quite hard to move. You know, I'm not getting that faded out look. I mean, I'm using a lot of water on my brush just so that I don't get too deep a colour. All right, we'll see what happens when it dries. Hello. This is a little video that I'm going to attach to my botanical beauties. And this month it's Crocus. And when I started to research it through my favourite Pinterest, I came across a crochet pattern for petals for a crocus, and I actually thought that I might have a go, because throughout my journal I've been trying to play with a few different techniques, and this is one of those. It's going to be maybe a little harder to see at times because I'm using quite a small crochet hook. It's a 1.5, and I'm using what probably is the equivalent of a pearl cotton. I don't know the weight, I'm sorry. It's one that I already had wrapped onto a card, but it's quite fine. So yeah, so I just thought I'll add this to the page that I'm doing for the crocus page. So I'm just starting with the middle of the petal going down here, which is 15 chain. I'm not a teacher of crochet. I'm happy to show you what I'm doing, but you know, you might want to go researching that a little bit if you don't know how to do it. But I like doing crochet. Just occurred to me that I can't talk and count at the same time. I think that's 15. I'm just going to double count. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Leave the first chain next to the needle, and I don't know the translation for you know, between I know that there's different what we call a single crochet, others call a double crochet, but it's putting the hook into the chain, looping it round and bringing it back through both, and there's 5 of those. So that's 2. It is fiddly. 3, 4, 5, and so it's just making the next bit a little bit bigger. So what some people call a double crochet or a treble, but it's wrapping the wool around the needle before putting it into the chain, bringing it back. Through the first 2 and then the second 2. Oh no, missed that one. Back through the second 2. Need my magnifying glasses on for this job. 1, there's 3 of those. I'm not sure when you'll see it, because I will put it in amongst another video when I get to start doing the actual page, but I can only actually even do 4 petals because I haven't got enough of this. It's a dyed one, and that's all I've got, so I think that I'm only going to get 4. So this is like what we might call a double treble. So wrapping it in, and there's 5 of these, bring it through the first stitch, bring it through the next 2 and through the next 2. So it just keeps making the stitch a little longer all the way Doesn't want to come through there. There. So 5 of those. Just doesn't want to behave. I did the first 3 perfectly all right. All right, through 1, through 2, through 2. Wrap, poke it through, bring it back through the first one, through the second 2, and the last 2. That's 3. Back through the chain, pull it through 1, through 2, through 2. Of course, I'm going to pull it out myself. And then one more, that's 4. And 5. Sometimes you have to make sure that that first row of chain doesn't twist, because it's then hard to see where you put the hook in. And now in the last chain, just making sure you don't go through where you know where you made the original knot. There's 9 of the what I would call a normal treble, but some call it a double crochet. It's one of those things that you do have to look up, depending on which country you're in. All right, so through 2 and through 2. So we're doing 9 in here, which will take us around the corner. Make the, you know, the curve here. Two and 2. That's 2. And through that bottom chain, that's 3. The more you get in there, the easier it is to see where to put the hook. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. When crocheting with cotton, you need every finger you've got. All right, so back to that, what I would call a double treble. So wrap, and then we're going to go into the bottom of where that one was, because we've turned it around. So we're going into the bottom of the chain. Through 1, through 2, through 2. There's 5 of those, like we did on the other side. So it's a repeat, matching both sides. Need some music on or something. 3. How many have I done? Yep. So that's the 9 in that half circle around there. Then 3. 4. and then what I call a double crochet, or actually what I call a treble, to be quite honest. Sorry, the other one was so through 2 and through 2. I call this one a treble, but I think everybody calls it something a little bit different. But it's just making the stitches a little bit bigger and then a little bit smaller. So there's 3 of those. And like I said, I found a free crochet pattern on Pinterest that suited me. So, and now this is what I would call a double crochet. So there's 5 of those. So I don't wrap it first. I put it into the chain space first, wrap it and pull it through both. Some people call it a single crochet. 3, 4, and then into the last chain on the edge, on the end there, 5. Okay, so then the next part is about, so that's what it looks like. So you've got just getting bigger and bigger. The next bit is wrapping, crocheting some just fine wire into it to help give it some shape. This is a 26 gauge, so it's pretty thin. I can cut it with my paper scissors. I actually found it at Spotlight. The brand is called Crafter's Choice, and it's packed for Spotlight here in Australia. But it might be something that you can find through other online craft suppliers, but it is, what it says is 26 gauge. It happens to be purple, so I was very happy with that. So now, leaving yourself a bit on the end, it's now just going around the whole thing. Like I said, need all your fingers and all your thumbs. Where did I finish up here? On this side. So going into that first chain, or the first top of that stitch, that last stitch. Once you get started, it's a bit easier. And I'm not making it look very easy, I know. Sorry. Just doesn't want to play with me. Right, now. And so just a single crochet over that. And then I just go into every single one, making sure that the wire is caught between the thread. So you're wrapping the wire, hold it a bit of tension on this end, keeping it in place on this end, using every finger that you've got. But it's just a quick little one. They will all be joined together, and I won't be doing that with this video. It will be happening when I get, I'm just pulling that wire back out because I don't want that, I don't want it any longer than that there, because I'll just have to cut it off anyway. So still going into the top of each of the stitches, and so that the wire is caught between the crochet. Oh no, I wonder if I can get another petal out of this. I thought that I was only going to get 4, and crocuses have 6, so my plan is to do some that are painted, and so they'll be painted on the page, and then these ones will sit off the page, but in the one crocus. And while I would have liked to have had enough thread to make And that stitch there is quite big, but I think it'll be hidden once you get along with it. Yep. Yeah, you need to make sure that that thread, that wire, is sitting between the stitch and your thread so that you actually are wrapping it. As you go round, so that the thread, the wire is here, the thread is on this side, your stitches are on this side, and you come up and over it so that you catch it and it's hidden. And the wire is just to give it a little bit of shape once you're finished. It possibly would still have shape without the wire, but I quite fancy doing this, so I thought I'd give it a go. Nearly there. And because the thread's fine, the needle's small, the wire's fine, it is fiddly, and it just takes a little bit of patience to hold everything in the right position. As I said, once you get going, it's a bit easier. It's just that first initial stitch can be just a little bit more fiddlier than sometimes patience is required, and your tongue in the right position and all of those things. I find that I end up doing that, cross my legs and stick out my tongue until I get it all going, and then I'm right. And then I suddenly discovered that, you know, my shoulders are tight or something because I've been holding myself differently. This might not be up your alley, but I quite like doing something a little bit different. And I've been doing that all the way through the botanical series, so Botanical Beauties series. But this will be attached to a video that probably make more sense once the flower's being constructed. And then just making sure that we catch back into that first one just to end it off. It's a little bit tight. Pull it through. And that's it. Another petal done. Good. Okay. Hope you're having fun doing whatever it is that you're doing. I'm making petals. Okay, bye.